fancy, shiny. I'm gonna owe her 95 bucks. Good evening and welcome to Woodstock City Council. It is Thursday, December the 13th, 2018. We have quite a full agenda tonight. We have some presentations as well as many delegations, so we'll get right to work. Any disclosure of conflict of interest? Seeing none, we'll have disclosure of new business from Councillor Lauder, and we'll deal with that as we get to that in the agenda. So next up would be minutes. We have the minutes from November 15th, the regular meeting, as well as the minutes from the December 6th inaugural meeting of the new term of council. And Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on November 15, 2018, and the minutes of the inaugural meeting of Woodstock City Council held on December 6, 2018, be adopted.
Thank you. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And we have additions to the agenda tonight. And I'd ask for a motion to add these items to the agenda. Councillor Accioni, seconded by Councillor Tate.
Actually, Councillor Lauder has signed it.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Sorry. That the following item be added to the agenda. 9C, Karen Scott, Acting Chief Executive Officer, Woodstock Public Library, request for carryovers. 9D, Karen Scott, Acting Chief Executive Officer, Woodstock Public Library, Library Board request for carryovers and reserves to 2019. Delegations 7A through to Delegation 7G, if I can do that. FG, no, yeah, we do. I have a Delegation 7G, John LaJoy. Am I reading something different? 7A, Henry Drew. 7B, Brian George. 7C, Diana Sinding. 7D, Alexa Phillips. 7E, Jatin Sundai. 7F, Henry Drew. And 7G, John LaJoy. Oh, yes. 7F and 7A. Sorry, I see that now. So moved, or do I? Thank you.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor of adding these items to the agenda? Carries. Unanimous. And before we get to the delegations, we will start with presentations. And tonight we have Virginia Armstrong, our manager of the Woodstock BIA, here with us tonight to present the 2018 Santa Claus Parade. Award recipients, please come forward.
Thank you very much. Mayor Birch, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Virginia Armstrong, and I am a part of the parade committee for 2018, and it was very exciting this year. It was my first year, and so I'm very, very happy and excited to be here to present the awards to our parade winners. First of all, before I do that, I just want a few minutes to acknowledge and recognize our sponsors that made our parade possible this year. Our gold sponsors were Toyota Motor Manufacturing Canada, City of Woodstock Community Grants Committee, Downtown Woodstock BIA, and our silver, Toyota Boshuka, Viewtech Canada Inc., Van Haren Group, Cisco, Martin Carriers Inc., and our bronze sponsors, Trigon Construction Management and POW Labs. Thank you so much to the many people, the companies, and the organizations that supported us with their in-kind donations and services. Our day and night elves are essential to a successful parade, and we sincerely thank each and every one of you. Thank you for putting up with the cold. At least it wasn't rain this year, so that was a really good omen. A big thank you goes out to everyone who came out to enjoy the parade and lined the streets and gave monetary donations to make this parade possible. Also to those of you that supported the Salvation Army with donations of food and toys. That's so important, especially at this time of year. A big thank you goes out to the City Works Department. They're phenomenal, and we say thank you, City Works staff, Woodstock Auxiliary Police, EMS, and the Woodstock Police and Fire Departments. We are grateful for the terrific job you do in keeping us safe at this parade and all other days throughout the year. There were so many beautiful decorated floats, and I have to say, when I took a view down around the racetrack at the fairgrounds, it just sent shivers. It was amazing how this community came together, and we thank you for your hard work and jobs well done. Our judges have tallied the results, and here are our winners. So, without further delay, I would like to ask Mayor Birch if he would join me in presenting the awards to our winners this evening.
Step away from the podium.
Okay. Perfect. I wondered how I was going to do that. So our community service float, our runner-up, Woodstock Scouts, 13th. And accepting tonight is Mike Davis and Sebastian and Dominic, and also the 7th Woodstock Scouts. And on that 7th is Victoria Day, accepting the award.
Thank you. Okay.
And if we could do a group photo, that would be great if everybody
How
wants
about
to come
you guys
forward.
stand in front of us and you hold that together. Hold it up nice and high. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all of your hard work. Our next winner is first place is the Woodstock Agricultural Society. And representing the society is Mary D'Entremont, Leanne Johnson.
I'll let you two hold that. Same thing, you could stand in front. I'm tall enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. The Corporate Sponsor Float Award, runner-up, and I'm not sure if they are here tonight. Do we have a representative from ViewTech? Okay, come forward.
You got the right shirt on. Congratulations. You don't need to be so red.
Yeah. I told you it was hot in here. Congratulations, thank you. Our first place winner for Corporate Sponsor Float Award is Trigon Construction Management Signify Design. And here to accept the award is Heather Gronick, Mary Sue Hampson, and Carrie Rossino. Oh, I'm gonna keep moving over here. Congratulations on a job well done. Next, we have our School Spirit Float Award. And the runner-up this year was Woodstock Collegiate Institute, WCI, and I'm not sure if anybody's here this evening. We will make sure
I
that
recognize some of them in the picture.
yeah, I don't know. First place, I know we do have people here from Woodstock Trinity School, and they're here to accept their first place award for School Spirit. So we have Tessa Tessa Dorkin, and we have Angelina Maurer, and we have Kaiden Skillings-Mullen, and we have Principal George Friesen, and Teacher Kim Dorkin. She's not coming forward, Kim? Well, come on over with your students there. Way to go. Good job, yes. And now we have a presentation for our Commercial Float Award, and the runner-up is Tirecraft, and we have Adam Barnum and Adam Chenoweth accepting the award. Adam and Adam. Good job, guys. Good job.
You guys better share that. Do you want one on each side of it? Yeah, how about that?
You get in the middle.
I don't
There we are.
want it. Congratulations. Awesome. Great job. The first place Commercial Float Award goes to Elite Dance Center, and we have Robert and Tanya Leduc here to accept the award. Way to go.
Thank you so much.
It's awesome. Good job. Shake it. You guys squeeze together. I'll get on this side. Thank you. Congratulations. And lastly on our list, this is our runner-up,
Okay,
but then
yes.
it's the last category, excuse me, is our, and we will not, might have to have you back up for ViewTech. The overall best in the show is, the runner-up is ViewTech. You didn't know you were going to be on camera tonight, did you?
Hold that again.
It's hot in here. No pressure. And, drum roll. First place, Trigon Construction Management Signify Design. Heather, Mary Sue, and Carrie. Well done.
Who's gonna hold it this time?
Thank you. Congratulations. So to everyone that entered a float and everyone that came out a winner, we want to say thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you at our parade in 2019. And it might extend out to anyone that's interested. We are needing volunteers for our committee next year, so if you're interested, give me a shout at downtown Woodstock, and we'll get you signed up. Thank you.
Very much. Good job. And our next item of business is a presentation. I won't be sitting up here for too long. What I want to do at this point in time is to remind everyone in the Friendly City that we have so many different things in the community that we do here as a municipal government that spans everything that touches people's lives on a daily basis. We're going to be getting into capital budgets later. We're going to hear about equipment that's needed to keep the streets clear. We're going to hear about things that are needed for future recreation and cultural assets. Here in the city, we have many sponsorship opportunities, whether that is corporate, service club, or personal. And tonight, we're going to recognize Mr. and Mrs. Leslie. They have made a contribution here to our community that is going to make a difference for generations to come with our recreation and trail assets. You'll hear more about this as I read the proclamation, so I would ask the Leslies to please come forward. Thank you. 'Cause 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 whereas the City of Woodstock has been exploring opportunities for increased recreational amenities and use of the North Shore of Piddock Conservation Area for a number of years. And whereas the City of Woodstock has entered into a formal arrangement with Upper Thames Conservation Authority for free access to the North Shore. And whereas this sponsorship has made possible the accelerated implementation of new access, amenities, and improvements. Now, therefore, as Mayor of the City of Woodstock, it gives me great pleasure to formally thank Mr. and Mrs. Leslie for their contribution to an exciting addition to our recreation and trail systems. Your contribution will have a lasting impact for the quality of life of all members of our community for years to come. Signed this 13th day of December 2018 at Woodstock, Ontario, Mayor Trevor Birch. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly.
And if you want to stand on this side, you can hold that. We'll do a photo, and then I'll pass the mic over. Do you want to go first?
I'll just well, we just thought that this contribution would spearhead the development of the South and North Shore, and something that everyone in the community can use, and from the little tots in strollers to if you're being pushed by a wheelchair or someone. So, good health to all who use it.
Anything from you?
Sure.
Yeah.
I just want to thank Trevor and the council for giving us support, and we're looking forward to working with the Parks and Recreation Department to develop this area into an area that everybody in Woodstock will be proud to have. And that is, we want to have put the walkway over the dam, and washrooms and picnic tables and all what is needed will be done in accordance to what the Recreation Department wants. But we're certainly proud and look forward, Dorothy and I are, to having this completed hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Merry Christmas. What a great pleasure it is for me to be able to represent council in the city with giving thanks to the Leslies. And for anyone else that's at home or hears about what's going on with sponsorship opportunities like this, there is room for so much more to be done. So over the Christmas holidays, talk to family and friends about how you can help make the community a better place. So again, thank you to the Leslies, and over the course of 2019, after we have dealt with all of our capital and revenue fund budgets and we get started on some of that work, there will be another opportunity for a nice ribbon cutting. So look forward to seeing you again when there's less snow on the ground. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Leslie. Next up, we have delegations, and we will start with Delegation 7A, Henry DeRue, regarding the application for zone change at 684 Devonshire Ave. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by saying it was good to see so many members of our neighborhood at Monday night's meeting to voice their concerns. It shows that the people in our neighborhood take pride and care about their community. As a resident of Devonshire Ave, I share this sentiment and can appreciate living in this town, this area of town. My brother Rick and I would like our neighbors of Devonshire Ave to know that we have been listening and we have made changes to our proposal. First, we have revised our proposal of initially 9 units to now 8 units. The reduction in unit density will allow improved home placement and create 8 additional parking spaces. we feel this will significantly reduce the need for parking on Devonshire. Second, we have shifted the main entrance lane 1 meter to the east, thereby giving more green space along the treed western limit. This will give the existing trees along the property's edge more space and will provide an improved buffer zone to the neighboring property. And third, we no longer require a relief from the front and rear yard setbacks, as the new proposal meets the bylaw requirements. To address the topic of garbage and recycling, we will be assisting the units to ensure that waste will be put out for pickup in a clean and orderly manner. On a final note, I would like to talk a bit about the homes that we will be building and how they will fit into the neighborhood. As a resident of Devonshire Ave and a builder in Woodstock, if you were to ask me what character does the avenue possess, I would have to say that Devonshire Avenue is an eclectic and diverse area. My brother Rick, for an example, lived in one of the original farmhouses dating back to the mid-1800s. Through the years, those farmlands were subdivided into a range of infrastructure. On Devonshire Ave, we have schools, retirement centers, industry, a funeral home, a medical center, a grocery store, gas stations, convenience stores, and a group home. What isn't included in the list are all the residential homes that fit in with the above. On Devonshire, homes range from small bungalows to semis to townhouses to apartment buildings and some large estate lots. What we are proposing to build are contemporary brick and stone 2-story, 1,700 square foot townhouse units. The main floor will have a kitchen, living room, laundry room with master bedroom and ensuite. The second story will have 2 additional bedrooms and a bathroom. The clients we plan to attract range from baby boomers to seniors looking to retire and enjoy the neighborhood we all love. To conclude, Rick and I would like to say that this is a project we are personally organizing and building. We plan to own, lease, and maintain the units for many years to come, as it will be one of our retirement ventures. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions of council? Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's not actually a question, Henry. It's just more or less a comment. We sat through a very long planning meeting that night, and I think everybody had an opportunity, but you can tell that you and Rick were listening. Hopefully this will help to meet some of the concerns. You seem to have addressed them, and sitting in this chair, I appreciate when we have people like yourselves, developers that come back that have actually tried to make this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I too want to say the exact same thing. It was a long meeting, and I know a lot of people do have concerns, and really do appreciate what you and all your brothers have done to kind of fit in a little bit better in that area, knowing change is never wanted, but needed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next delegation, Brian George, regarding 684 Devonshire Ave. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of City Council, my name is Brian George, and I live at 616 Devonshire Avenue. I'm also the chair of the Oxford County Land Division Committee and have served as a member of the City of Woodstock's Committee of Adjustment. I have some knowledge of creating infill housing around the county. On Monday evening, attending council members heard a large group of neighbors concerned about many aspects of the proposed zone change. Most of them were concerned with creating a new private road so close to an already busy intersection and the traffic this will cause. Some were concerned with the tightness of the space and the lack of additional parking, which Mr. Drew has alleviated to some extent this evening. Others were concerned with the destruction of the existing vegetation on the lot, and still others wondered where children could safely play. My question to you this evening is, why build 8 new residences? In a conventional infill request, the property could easily be divided into 4 lots, 2 fronting on Devonshire and 2 behind, which could each be created with their own deeds. Even if you like the idea of creating a private road, Perhaps there should only be 6 new units, 2 groups of 3. This would allow a lot more available space for parking and green space, and perhaps each unit would be slightly larger. If this development were being built in an open space, in new development around the city, it wouldn't be a problem. It's trying to somehow shove 8 houses into what was a 1-house lot, which was zoned R1. The ball is in your court. You should make a decision on what you feel serves this area of Woodstock best. Section 1.1.3.3 in the planning report directs planning authorities to identify appropriate locations and promote opportunities for intensification and redevelopment where this can be accommodated, taking into account existing building stock or areas, including brownfield sites, and the availability of suitable existing or planned infrastructure and public service facilities required to accommodate projected needs. My question to you this evening basically is this an appropriate location for 8 new residences?
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Now, the next, we have 3 more delegations regarding the same property. What I would ask is that you bring new information each time. So next up, we'll have Diana Sinding? Yes. Okay. Welcome.
Yes, hi, my name is Diana Sending, and I am the owner that's right next to what's being built. I did provide some photographs. I'm not sure if that's something that can be brought up so that people can see and you can see what we're up against.
No.
Okay, so it's the pictures.
I think IT's changing it.
Oh, okay. All right. I have to apologize for the quality. I had to do it very quickly. It was not the greatest day, but just so that you can see the first picture, that is the back of my backyard where the big development is happening. So there's already a lot of buildings happening in the rear of my yard. We just bought this home, and so we were quite aware of that, but because of the distance, we were okay with that situation. When we bought the home, originally the developer did mention that they were only going to put 4 buildings next door, which we were also okay with. Thereafter, that changed to obviously 9, and we did have communication with the builder. I know that that question was posed. I believe it was for Mr. Accioni. And yes, there was. I do have actually some paperwork that I can leave with you to show that we did have indeed communications, and we are willing to meet with the developer to further discuss the concerns. As you can see with the pictures, those are all the existing vegetation in the back. That's my backyard right there, and what you're seeing are all the trees that are in that property. That's at the beginning of the driveway into my house. They're proposing to put the road right next to where you see that tree, which is vis-a-vis my my driveway, and it will take care of the entire length of that fence on my side. So I would have, again, the same situation happening on the entire side of my home. There are also some other pictures there where you can see my driveway and also the accumulations of traffic that gathering in that corner. If you keep on going, you'll even see further. And yes, a few more. That's all vegetation, and there's a huge also tree that would be compromised, and that is, I believe, an oak. Very beautiful tree. Keep on going, please. Thank you. I guess that's it. Well, yeah. Thank you. So that is just to address how this will directly impact us as neighbors. I am also speaking for the rest of the neighborhood that were unable to come here, and so I can address that at this point. The neighborhood collectively thanks you for the opportunity to listen to all of our concerns on December the 10th. We all had a chance to present our concerns and gather more information as we learned more about the questions that were raised by the council members. In speaking and receiving feedback from the participant neighbors, the consensus are that it's not the quality of the developers' buildings, but rather the quantity. To reiterate, with the increase of the accidents that happened on 2018, 16 vehicles, the police report that was presented to you also on the 10th exceeds the previous year's rate of accidents. We suspect that this may already be as a result of the suggested intensification plan, the increase of population, the multi-unit buildings in recent years, and that not includes the ones that are still ongoing. And therefore, we feel that a problem already exists. We live there, and we are witness of this. Also, while the plan is seemingly in compliance with what can be built in that space, the surroundings, the safety, the environment, the appeal, the present and the future impact obviously have to be weighed and considered in your decisions. In addition, the city reports of the study of the cars traveling in that area. We feel that other factors need to be also weighed in. In this case, the proximity to the intersection, the addition of the third private road that is yet adding another intersection close to an intersection, which adds to the congestion, rendering this whole area a dangerous zone for the nearby neighbors and the vehicles alike. With regards to the garbage and snow removal, that has been addressed, and I'm glad that is being taken care of. Also, we're living in a green world now and becoming more protective and aware of its effects. And that is why we oppose to the obliteration of any mature trees, as these not only offer appeal, but also serve as natural noise and view buffers. Not to mention all that nature has to offer ecosystem-wise. The newly proposed plan is still indicates 80% of the land being taken by buildings and roads. The fear is also that once this has been built, that there will be very little or no opportunity to make any changes, which has a potential of bigger problems for the city and the neighborhood, and cost the city more money, more time, and more money and more time. These are all legitimate concerns, and we ask the council to please take this under consideration and consider and reject the proposed. And for the building to revisit these plans and look beyond the monetary gain that these many buildings will provide and take under account the seriousness of these concerns by revising his plan to a more viable, safer solution with at best appropriately sized single detached or semi-detached dwelling with a proper driveway while keeping the trees intact that future families can own and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our next delegation is Alexa Phillips. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Alexa Phillips, and I live at 668 Devonshire Avenue. I would like City Council to consider that the County of Oxford Public Works Department comments in the application for zone change to the City Planner on the intersection of Devonshire Avenue and Huron Street relate to data that was collected in 2014 and reported in 2015. Therefore, the data being used does not include the growth of Woodstock in the last 4 years, the changes in lights with the advanced green westbound at the intersection, the new density development currently occurring just south of the intersection on Huron Street, and increase child, pedestrian, and cyclists at the intersection in relation to the new bylaw around schools. Therefore, the information the city planner is relying on is not accurate to date, but new data collection will start in 2019. I would like you to be aware that a document provided at the public meeting from the Woodstock Police Services states 16 collisions at the intersection of Devonshire and Huron from January 1st, 2018 to November 14th, 2018. There seems to be conflicting information from the city source. Reducing the number of units because of the proximity to the intersection would greatly reduce the concerns that are not reflected in the 2014 and 2015 data. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of council? Thank you very much. And our next is Jitin Sandhi. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, sorry.
I'll tell you in a minute. So I'm Dr. Jitin Sandhi. I'm one of the acting chiefs in the Emerge for Woodstock Hospital. I'm chief in Alexander Hospital as well. I'm also a director in the LIN, a Local Health Integration Network, if you're not familiar with that. So the reason I'm bringing all that up is that I have privy to additional information, one of which is 147 911 calls specifically associated with EMS at that intersection as well. So adding that information to that, there's other information, but I can't add that because of the low numbers for casualties and things like that, which would make it difficult to discuss that here. So adding that information to the busyness of that intersection, I wish for us to consider that as well. And like the Daru brothers are amazing. When we first moved from Ingersoll to Woodstock, we wanted a Daru home. So I know whatever they're going to build something beautiful, but I still want us to take that into consideration, the density we're adding onto an already busy intersection. And there was also talk at the meeting about how provincially mandated bylaws or laws, whatever, can actually have more of an impact on local initiatives. So sitting at the LIN, we get provincially mandated health initiatives on a regular basis, but if there is local governance that has significant concerns, and we're talking about safety here in this instance, local governance can actually make changes to provincial mandates. So just keep that in mind, that nothing can really push you. I know, it's not, no, it's hard, but it can happen. We've done it many times. So just take that into consideration. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll deal with those items later when we get to the planning item on 8D. Next up, we have John LaJoy regarding the official plan amendment for 300 Juliana Drive. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is John LaJoy. I'm with the Split Rock Inc. Group, the applicant for the rezoning application. I don't have a formal presentation. I'm just here to answer any questions you may have in that file.
Thank you. Questions of council regarding the application? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Schattenberg.
One thing I thought was unique about the construction style that you're planning is that the units will not have any basements. Can you explain the heating system and solar panels and whatnot that's going to be used there?
Well, the project's going to be near passive house and net zero energy construction. So we're right in the middle of our engineering and design right now. It's going to be all electric, no fossil fuels, no stairs, no basements. Should be a great project for seniors. With the courtyards, everyone's going to have walkouts to gardens and courtyards and green space.
Councillor Fraser.
Thank you for coming forward. Access to the property is the intention is to use a fire road access for the seniors home?
Yeah, well, there's going to be two accesses. We're going to utilize the west access off of Juliana through the fire route, which will have to be widened to meet minimum standards. And then there will be a secondary access through Southwood Way.
Okay, and it's reduced parking, correct?
It's reduced parking.
A request for a reduction in parking.
Yes.
Parking spaces. But it's also geared to income housing?
Yes, it's not geared to income, but it is IAH affordable housing.
Affordable housing,
and
okay.
The tenants are going to be minimum 65 years of age, seniors. And from our experience with other seniors projects, there's typically a requirement for parking spaces of 50 to 60% of the units have cars. So we believe we'll have more than enough parking to allow some visitor parking as well.
Okay, and you just mentioned there's another access way into the property.
Yes, through Southwood Way, which right now it's a dead-end street. It abuts the property line on the west side.
That would give direct access onto that property and
Yes.
for parking. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, we'll deal with that under planning item 8B. And our next delegation is Jason Dunham on our budget survey for 2019. Welcome.
Thank you. So this fall, we had a budget survey on the city website. The purpose of this survey was to get some feedback to provide you some insights as you move into the 2019 budget. The survey opened on September 12th, and it closed on October 19th of 2018. We received 518 respondents to the survey, and 4 of those respondents actually came from non-Woodstock residents. We were hoping to potentially have a few more of those so we could look at what business owners may have thought. But because that was so small, we didn't use that data for the analytics here. So we used the remaining 514 results in the following analysis. There were 17 questions. The first 3 questions were used to establish some demographic breakdown of who was completing the survey. So for that first question, I'm just going to back up here. Jeff has control. Oh, does he? I'm never great with PowerPoint. I think it's going to automatically progress through. So we're going to do this without a presentation. In the agenda, you should have a copy of the document here. So on the first page, you will see that the first question asked for the age brackets. And you notice that we didn't really have an even distribution between the various brackets. We used 18 to 24, 25 to 24, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, 55 to 64, and 65 plus. That's important to note as you look at the results that come afterwards, because some of them may not be representative of Woodstock as a whole, since this is not reflective of our population. So what we did to help to compensate for that was that you'll see the results are broken down based on those brackets. So you can get an idea of what people in the different age brackets thought, because for some of the questions there was quite some divergence in opinion there. The second question, as I mentioned, was asking whether they were a Woodstock resident or not. And then the third question asked how long people had lived in Woodstock for. This was an interesting one. For some of the questions, we found that there was a significant divergence of opinion based on people who had been here for a long time and people like myself who have come in the last 5 years. So moving on to question 4, I'm now on page 2 of the report. We started by giving people a list of the most common city services, and we asked them to let us know which ones they viewed as a priority. We didn't limit them to pick a specific number. We let them check off any that they felt were worth checking off. The results here were not surprising. Roads and sidewalks, waste, recycling, downtown rehabilitation, snow and ice control, parks and trails, and child and youth programming were the ones that received the most support. You'll see 2 charts there if you want to look at the numbers for all of the other services. We also, in the next question, gave people the chance to provide us their own comments on what services they feel are important. These questions are always challenging because the results you receive back vary quite significantly. You don't have the ability to pivot based on the wording that we provide, but it's also nice because it lets people express some of the thoughts that maybe we didn't give them the opportunity to in our list. So using that, a few things came up. One of them was green bin and composting. Almost a third of the people who chose to complete this question had that written in their comments, and that is significant. Affordable housing came up quite often, as did improvements to the downtown, improving transit offerings, increased snow removal again, and people who don't like garbage bag tags. A few of the ones that came up quite often included interest in aquatics, interest in bike lanes and bike paths, people who would like to see the methadone clinic move to an alternative location, people who talked about intercity transit, and people who asked for support for mental health issues. After question 5, we moved into specific questions about various services that the city offers. So questions 6 and 7 were related to waste collection, recycling, and bulk item collection. So for the first of those questions, we were asking people how many days they felt were appropriate for our bulk item collection going forward now that the Enviro Depot is open to the public. In the past, 6 days have been offered, so we gave people the chance to select anything from 6 days to 0 days, or to indicate that they don't care if this is a service that they don't themselves use or have any insights on. What we found with these results was that the most support was for 6 days, but there was also quite a cluster at the 2 to 4 day range. If you put 2 to 4 together in one group, that almost had a majority. I think it comes in at 47 or 48%. And so there's kind of those two clusters there. If you look at the report, it's detailed a little bit further. Question 7 asked about recycling and whether people felt that weekly recycling would be beneficial. We've asked this before in other surveys, and the results have always been quite consistent. There is a lot of support in this community for that. It was about 3/4, I think it comes in at 71% of the population was in support of weekly recycling. And interestingly, this is one of the questions that the age brackets definitely shed some insights on who cares about that. We saw that the support for anybody under 45 was 70 to 85%. And then when you look at the older demographics, it dropped lower up to the 65 plus, where it was a little over 30 who were in support of that. Question 8 asked about snow and ice clearing. What we were focusing on here was whether or not people have a preference towards increased city forces to do snow and ice clearing, or having a bylaw passed that would put that onus on the residents to clear the sidewalks. The results here were not as strong. There was 55% in favor of city forces, but it was not as strong as some of the other questions that we've seen in the survey. Questions 9, 10, and 15 were related to budget planning and the capital budget specifically. So question 9 generally asked whether the residents have a preference for maintaining or increasing infrastructure spending within the city. This came in pretty even. It was 51% were in favor of an increase and 48% were in favor of maintaining. Question 10 was another opportunity for our respondents to provide their own text. We asked them for projects or ideas that they thought could positively impact our community. We received quite a few responses here. I'm not going to take up your time this evening to read them to you, but some of them are detailed in the report. And if you're interested in the full list, that data is also available, although it's not included in the minutes. Moving on to page 10. So this question, this is question 15, and we asked whether the respondents would prefer to see the city maintain our service offerings, enhance our service offerings, or reduce our service offerings. And of course, they also had the chance to say they don't care. The results here were quite clear. There was a small amount of people who wanted to see a reduction. We're looking at 3%. And that really didn't have a change across the different age brackets either. As far as maintaining and enhancing, depending on the age bracket you look at, there was some variance, but in all cases, it was always more than 30% who were in favor of maintaining. Moving on to questions 11 and 12. These were about Woodstock Transit. So the first question, we gave users the opportunity to indicate their interest for extended hours to midnight, including Sunday service, reducing hours to 8 p.m., or maintaining the current schedule. These were not mutually exclusive. Users were able to check off any of them that they felt were of interest to them. The results here were complex. There were not a lot of strong correlations that were found, but there's a few things I would like to point out. Specifically, that younger residents have a relatively higher preference for a midnight service offering. That preference did reduce with age. Older residents had a preference for Sunday service. And the residents who lived in Woodstock for more than 15 years were more than twice as likely to support cutting back service to 8 p.m. compared to those who have lived in Woodstock for a shorter period of time. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I found it interesting, so I thought I'd pass that along. Question 12 asked the respondents if they did use transit, whether we offered a route that met their needs. So many people did not use transit. I think it was about 75%, 77% said they don't use transit. But of those who do use transit, about 75% said that we do offer a route that meets their needs. For users who indicated that their needs were not met, they had the chance to let us know their destination or their sourcing location that was not included, and that has been provided to the Transit Department for review as they consider future changes to their routes. Questions 13 and 14, the results for those two were both quite clear. 13 was about the Cowan Park facility that was recently taken over by the city. And the question was whether or not residents would prefer to see it remain single sport or whether they would like to see it become more of a multi-sport facility. This was quite strong. It was 76% of people would prefer to see it multi-sport, and that was pretty consistent across the various demographic breakdowns as well. Question 14 was about the loop trail. As you're aware, with the North Shore Agreement coming into place in 2019, we can look at the possibility of a loop trail being put in long term. And this was the question that received the most support. 87% of respondents said that they were in favor of that. Question 16, this was about community prosperity. So this was another one where we had a variety of options and users were asked to indicate any of them that they felt were something that they supported. And these were projects that were not city initiatives that we can show support to. So the options were physician recruitment, downtown revitalization, post-secondary, senior facilities, and youth services. The results here, nothing came in especially strong. Physician recruitment was quite strong, and as you are aware, that has already been undertaken, so that's kind of a nice thing to see, that residents are in favor of what has been done in 2018. As far as the other ones, I'll leave that for you to review on page 15. On the last question, question 17, we gave residents the opportunity to express any other concerns or thoughts that they had. Some people put things in this question that really should have fit in other questions, so those are answers we moved over there. But there are also a few interesting comments that I've included here in the report for you to review. A lot of positive comments, which I found quite refreshing. So that was the questions that we had in the survey. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Questions of council? No, I think you've done a very thorough job in summarizing everything, and we'll be taking all of that into consideration over the coming meetings as we deal with budgets. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next delegation is the Chief Administrative Officer, along with the Treasurer. Nope, not tonight, just the Chief Administrative Officer regarding our capital budget.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Welcome.
This presentation is considerably lower tech, so let's hope it works. Tonight, Council will have received their copy fresh off the press of the 2019 to 2023 preliminary capital budget. This is our projection of needs to maintain the existing infrastructure and our asset-based needs to support a growing community. So tonight I just want to give you a brief overview of the 2019 capital and the forecast years of 2020 to 2023. Council will hold a special meeting on January 10th at 5 p.m. here in Council chambers to review the capital budget in more detail. The budget will be included on the January 17th Council meeting for consideration for approval. While 5 years are shown in this document, Council only approves the 1 year of capital projects, that being 2019. The other 4 years are not approved. They're shown for forecast purposes only. The budget meetings are all live streamed. They're open to the public, and there's usually plenty of seats, so you're all welcome. Anyone's welcome to attend. So, without further ado, the 2019 proposed capital budget has a total value of approximately $29.5 million. The own purpose proposed capital budget, which really all this means is we've taken out the sanitary sewer and the water projects because those are funded by the County of Oxford through sewer and water user fees as well as through development charges. So our own purpose capital budget is about $24.8 million. The gross $29.5 million is about an increase of about $12.5 million over the 2018 capital budget, which is a significant jump year over year. But $12.5 million of that increase relates to one project alone, and that is the servicing of Pattullo Ridge Phase 2, sometimes referred to as the former LEA farm, which is the 92 acres of farmland that the city purchased to expand the industrial park easterly, fronts on Pattullo as well as Highway 401. So the $10 million is this project, includes $8 million of direct servicing costs and $2 million of oversizing for a sanitary pump station. This industrial park is meant for resale, so the city recovers all of its costs through the sale of this, and the sale of the land generates assessment, it generates jobs, and it generates prosperity in the community. So this is essentially an investment in our community. The 2020 to 2023 capital forecast has a total value of about $89 million, and 64 of that is our own purpose spending. Traditionally, our capital budgets have been largely maintained and replaced budgets, but this budget is being heavily influenced by growth, the growth that the city has seen in recent years. Last year, the 2018 budget was about 87% dedicated to just maintaining our existing infrastructure. As you can see, this year, we're roughly half. Jumping right into the road projects, we are proposing a jump in road construction investment in 2019. Road resurfacing, we're showing a $200,000 increase, and that's entirely as a result of council approving a increase in the reserve contribution to the road resurfacing reserve in 2018. That $1.64 million that we're proposing to spend in 2019, the goal, the target spending each year is $2 million. So we're closing in on that. It's taking us a few years, and we're making progress. Slight increase in surface asphalt as well as road reconstruction for about $4.5 million being spent in the road program. And that's just maintain and replace existing roads. We have quite a large number of big dollar value projects in stormwater, flood mitigation, and quality projects. 2019 is just a lot of our smaller ponds that are in need of clean out. But in our forecast years, we have some very big ticket projects. The preamble to the capital budget gives you some background on this, and I'll leave that for the more detailed budget meeting. In the building projects, we're proposing phase 2 of the library masonry restoration for about $550,000. Phase 1 was in 2014. It was a little over $200,000 and completed the restoration of the portico area. This phase will do the remainder of the front and the sides of the original Carnegie building. There's a lot of money being spent in the replacement of heating, ventilating, and air conditioning and controls through various buildings. On our horizon, we have some projects that we need to keep our eye on. The Civic Center Arena rink floor and board replacement we're showing in 2020. This floor is at end of life. The boards are following as well. It's an $800,000 project, and if this money is spent, that means this arena needs to stay open for another 25 years. And so what is being proposed in 2019 is a study of this building to see if we can do renovations and repurpose this building to actually meet the current needs of hockey in terms of dressing rooms, and give this building the life it needs in order to make in order to get 20, 25 years of life out of it. We have masonry restoration in some buildings, community complex roof replacement. It's going to be about 25 years old at this time frame. $1.2 million. Council started setting money aside in a reserve in 2018 towards this project, and we're showing a significant cost in 2023 for the turf replacement at Cowan Park, which is new to the program. In terms of growth projects, what we're looking at for the current year is an expansion of the city's engineer's office. So it's a second floor expansion, also a renovation long overdue. There is no further office space in the city engineer's office. Planners are working out of the boardroom. So we're at capacity. Parks Department is very much in need of a maintenance building in the north end of the city, and we're proposing a building on an extension of what will be Springbank Avenue extended east, which is at the north end of Cowan Fields, $900,000. Both of these are development charge eligible for financing. In Parks and Recreation, we have the rehabilitation of the Lions Pool Basin and Mechanical. The Parks and Recreation, Director of Parks and Recreation, provided a council with a report in February of 2018 looking at options for the city's aquatic assets. And council directed that staff bring forward an estimate for a repair of Lions Pool. So we have included that in the budget. This will extend the life of the pool for a further 20 years. It's currently about 71 years old now. The basin will be rebuilt. It will be made accessible, so zero entry, and the filter and piping systems will be replaced for this amount. If council wants outdoor water in this community, this is the cheapest way to keep outdoor water by far. We're continuing with the replacement of play structures in our existing parks, and we are continuing with our park construction in our new subdivisions, so Shanna Larson Park Phase 5, Ludington Park Phase 2, and trail improvements on our new Pattullo woodlot. As we heard earlier, we have a new agreement with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority for South Shore and North Shore day use area, as well as access to the lake. And so we're proposing projects to open the dam to a pedestrian crossing to make that safe, as well as improve Roth Park drives. Financing the 2019 capital budget, we're using all of our capital out of revenue that is typically raised in the 2019 revenue fund budget. We're proposing to use $8.4 million of reserve and reserve funds. The total amount of debt for the program this year proposed is $2.65 million. You can see county sewer and water rates of 4.6. We're tapping into $1.9 million of grants, largely provincial dedicated gas tax and federal gas tax. Financing to be determined, $8 million. This relates to the direct servicing costs of Pattullo Ridge Phase 2. We haven't allocated this at this point because we think it's more appropriate to determine the final financing of this at the time that construction contract is issued. Financing will undoubtedly be a mix of the industrial land reserve. It could be a mix of hydro reserve. It could be debt, but with the pace of industrial land sales right now, debt might not be the right solution because the land sales are happening fast, and we don't want to issue 10-year debt if we're going to sell the land in 2 years. So we're suggesting that we leave this to be determined somewhere throughout the year. Just taking a closer look at debt, the 2018 estimated outstanding debt's about $18.7 million. That includes the stranded debt because of the soccer club and the Cowan Park. Our annual repayment limits that are established by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs is just over $14 million, which translates into our ability to issue up to $109 million of 10-year debt or $176 million of 20-year debt. We are not proposing to go anywhere near there. The $2.65 million of projects that we're proposing to finance with debt include the annual typical $900,000 for the road program, the Lions Pool Basin Rehabilitation and Mechanical Project of $900,000, and the City Engineer's Office expansion of $850,000. Now, this engineering office expansion is development charge eligible, so we can apply development charges to it. The difficulty is that it hasn't raised that amount of money. So the dollars that are raised through development charges can be used to offset the debt servicing for that project in the future years. Council is undertaking debt management. In 2018, Revenue Fund Budget Council increased the road resurfacing reserve. They established a Southside Pond cleanout reserve, and this is all related to debt avoidance. Increases in the fire equipment reserve to build the reserve for some forecast large equipment purchases, as well as the radio system reserve, and began setting aside $100,000 in 18 for the complex roof replacement. So all of these are initiatives that Council began in 2018, and some of the cases earlier, to manage our need for debt going forward for these large projects. What's not in the budget, we don't have a Southgate expansion because they're still in the design development phase of that project. So the concept is still being worked on, so there's really nothing that we have to work with to put into the budget. In the budget survey, you heard that there is a strong desire in the community to have weekly recycling. Weekly recycling will result in the need for an additional recycling truck. This is something that would likely come out of the revenue fund budget, and Council would amend the capital budget if you do decide to go forward with that in 2019. City Hall expansion is not in the program. City Hall has also reached capacity in terms of staffing, and this is not development charge eligible, unfortunately, so we have to resort to other means of financing, and so we're just making do. And Bower Hill Communication Tower, eventually the county tower in Bower Hill is overloaded, and someday we're going to face a need to address that issue. So with that, Your Worship, any questions? Otherwise, we'll see you on January 10th.
Thank you very much. Questions of council? Okay, seeing none, what I would say is that in addition to turkey, ham, whatever your family traditions are over the coming weeks, there's a lot of other things for council to digest. Okay, so we will go to consideration of delegations, and with all of our delegations tonight, there are no resolutions required. So our next item on the agenda is consideration of planning reports, and our first one is for 34 Brock Street. Do I have a mover? Councillor Accioni?
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council advise County Council that the city supports the application for draft approval of a proposed condominium submitted by 1841950 Ontario Inc., file number CD 18018, prepared by our Campbell and M Survey Consultant Incorporated and dated January 17, 2017 for lands described as part lot 6 and 7, plan 26 in the city of Woodstock. And further, that the Woodstock City Council advise County Council that the city supports the application for exemption from draft plan of condominium approval process submitted by 1841950 Ontario Inc., file number CD 18018, prepared by our Campbell and M Survey Consultant Inc., and dated January 17, 2017 for lands described as Part Lot 6 and 7, Plan 26 in the City of Woodstock, as all matters relating to the development have been addressed through the site plan approval process and a registered site plan agreement with the City of Woodstock.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Lauder. Ms. Hashler, welcome.
Thank you. So this application, as Councillor Accioni already indicated, is for a draft plan of condominium and exemption from draft plan approval, and it's for the property located at 34 Brock Street. The property currently contains a 4-story, 13-unit apartment building, and the applicant is proposing to make each unit separately conveyable through a plan of condominium. All of the internal corridors, parking, landscaped areas, walkways, access lanes, open areas, and other outside elements will all be held in common ownership, and just the units will be conveyable for separate ownership. As council may recall, there was a zone change for this application that was approved in July 9th, 2015. And it later got site plan approval on October 9th, 2015. And as I said, the building is completely built and it is occupied. It's our opinion that this application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, as the proposal will promote a different form of housing to meet the long-term needs of current and future residents, and it also supports economic prosperity in the downtown. The proposal is also in keeping with the central business district policies of the official plan, and the proposed development will create a housing opportunity that will contribute to providing a mix of tenure forms in the city. Based on the review of the draft plan of condominium, it would also appear that the proposed development will meet the relevant provisions of the C5-14 zone. And in light of our review, we would recommend that council give this application favorable consideration.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our next item on the agenda is the OP amendment and zone change for 300 Juliana Drive. Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council support the application to amend the Oxford County Official Plan, file number OP 18098, submitted by the County of Oxford for lands legally described as Part Lot 21, Concession 2, and Part Lot 17, Plan 1616 in the City of Woodstock, to redesignate a portion of the subject property from community facility to medium-density residential, to facilitate the construction of 4 multiple attached dwelling houses, each containing 6 units. And further, that Woodstock City Council approve in principle the zone change application, file number ZN 81814, submitted by the County of Oxford for lands legally described as Part Lot 21, Concession 2, and Part Lot 17, Plan 1616 in the City of Woodstock. Rezone the lands from community facilities, special residential, Zone 3, to facilitate the construction of 4 multiple attached dwelling houses, each containing 6 units. And further, that any comments received from the public were viewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this matter.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Tate. Ms. Hashler.
Thank you. So this application will be located at 300 Juliana Drive, and it is on what we all know as the Whittingford Lodge site. And what the applicant is proposing is, 4 multiple attached dwelling houses, each containing 6 units, which will be a total of 24 units. And these 24 units will be considered affordable housing units, where they got the funding through the Investment of Affordable Housing Program and Social Infrastructure Fund provided by the provincial and federal government. The applicant will be required to enter into an agreement with the county to ensure the units remain affordable for a minimum of 20 years. The subject site comprises approximately 0.8 of an acre and is currently vacant of any buildings and structures. And I will give a brief description of what the intent of the entire proposal will be for the lands, aside from the subject application tonight. But basically what the county is looking to do is they have hived off this piece of land for the subject application, and then they will also be hiving off this southern portion for what we believe will be an apartment building. And the plan is that the 3 facilities, or the 3 developments, including Woodingford Lodge, will be able to act as sort of a campus of care. And so the whole area will be geared towards seniors. And the idea is that some people will be able to, potentially a spouse could live in one of the units, and then the other spouse could live in Woodingford. But the idea is that they will share facilities going forward. So if they have recreational activities planned, anyone from the entire site would be able to participate in them. So staff are supportive of this application, as we're satisfied with, oh now I'm lost here. Sorry, I should mention too that the applicant has requested a number of site-specific amendments, which include reducing the minimum lot area, lot frontage, front yard depth, rear yard depth, reducing the parking space requirements, and the visitor parking requirements. And in our experience in the past, we have been supportive of these types of reductions, in particular the parking space requirements, as this is geared to seniors as well as affordable housing. And so we generally find that these parking lots don't fill up, and we don't have issues with congestion from the parking. The proposed development is considered to be a form of infilling that promotes intensification and a mix of housing types to accommodate current and future residents of the regional market area. The development is also considered to be an efficient use of lands, municipal services, and infrastructure within a designated settlement area. Therefore, we feel that it's in keeping with the provincial policy statement. Additionally, the proposal maintains the general intent of the official plan, as the multiple attached dwelling units are permitted in the medium density designation, and the proposed development appears to meet the maximum density requirement. With regard to access and traffic, staff note that Juliana Drive is a collector road according to the official plan, and a preliminary traffic impact study was completed to evaluate the feasibility of future development on the subject lands. The details of the traffic impact study indicate that Southwood Way, in conjunction with the proposed future extension of Stonegate Drive, can operate safely and effectively with the additional development proposed without the need of additional upgrades at this time. The proposed access to Juliana will assist to limit the amount of additional vehicle traffic of Southwood Way into the abutting low-density residential area to the west. Staff note that based on the type of specialty housing proposed, as well as the relatively small nature of the development, minimal vehicle traffic is projected. The site is located in reasonable proximity to Norwich Avenue, which provides access to a variety of shopping facilities, and is in close proximity to public transit stops located at the intersection of Juliana and Sales Drive. While the requested front yard depth of 4 meters is proposed along the entire westerly property, staff note that the majority of this area, with the exception of the frontage along Southwood, is considered to be the interior side yard. For council's information, the applicant is aware that screening and landscaping will be required in this area, which will be reviewed during the site plan process, and this will help to buffer along the westerly lot line. Staff note the development proposal is also subject to site plan approval, which will address details regarding servicing, drainage, and fire roads, and will be further addressed at that time. In light of the foregoing, we recommend that the application be approved.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Fraser.
Thank you for the presentation. I have trouble with using a fire road for access, especially one that's related to Woodingford Lodge, because if something happens there, there's a lot of emergency vehicles that have to get in there. So I understand we're going to have access from the 1 street. Yes, Southwood, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned it, but there might be another building going in to the south of that. And do we have any indication how big that building would be?
Through the mayor to Councillor Fraser, At this point in time, we know it's a multi-level apartment building, but we don't know the actual number of units.
Okay. But the indication is that this is, these these units in the apartment building will be designed or geared towards people my age, right? Or in that area? Off guard, so.
Through the Mayor to Councillor Fraser, I won't comment on, I believe that the units are geared towards seniors that are 65 and over. The proposal, you're correct, is an extension of Southwood Way basically, but it'll be a private street at that point once it crosses the lot line. And then the fire route will be upgraded to handle the traffic that would be on both sites. A traffic impact study was undertaken, and it was undertaken to account for both developments, and it came back that they didn't feel that there would be any issues.
But the fire access route goes through the parking lot of Woodingford Lodge. It actually cuts through, so the fire road actually divides the parking lot down to about 25% on the west side of it and 75% on the east side of it, I think. So would that not impact the parking at Woodingford?
So it's our opinion that the parking won't be affected. There is an additional parking lot here. This aerial is older, and you're correct. It will run down. The internal drive will run down through here.
Thank you.
Well, I should mention too that they are proposing a sidewalk to allow for like pedestrians to walk along the access.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And opposed? Carries. Thank you. And our next application is consent for minor variance at 345 Main Street. Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council advise the Land Division Committee that the city supports the proposal to sever the subject property, subject to the following conditions, 1 through to 7, if I may. Thank you.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Tate.
Thank you.
Ms. Ashler.
So this application was submitted by Bentham Family Homes, and it's for 345 Main Street. And the applicant is proposing to create a vacant lot on Main Street to construct a semi-detached dwelling on the lot to be retained. The lot to be severed will have a single detached dwelling, and the applicant proposes to later on sever the semi-detached dwelling once it's been constructed. The applicant is further requesting relief from the minimum lot frontage for a semi-detached dwelling unit from 9 meters to 7.5 meters, which equates to a total frontage of 15 meters for the semi-detached dwelling. Surrounding uses in the immediate vicinity consist of predominantly single detached dwellings and semi-detached dwellings. It's our opinion that the proposal is consistent with the intensification, redevelopment, and housing policies, as the application provides for an opportunity for redevelopment and is considered to be an efficient use of land and municipal infrastructure. It also promotes intensification and will provide a mix of housing types in the area. Both the lots to be severed and retained are considered to be appropriate in accordance with the infill policies of the official plan. The subject lands are located within a broader area that's characterized by low and medium density development on a variety of lot sizes. The proposed lots appear to be consistent with the residential development in the immediate area with respect to lot area, depth, and frontage. In addition, the lots are of sufficient size to provide adequate space for setbacks, parking, and vehicular ingress and egress. Based on the sketch provided by the applicant, it would appear that the relevant provisions of the R2 zone will be maintained with the exception of the frontage for the retained lot. The applicant has requested this relief to reduce the minimum lot frontage. Staff are satisfied that the applicant's request for relief can be considered minor, as adequate space will still be maintained to accommodate parking, drainage, building maintenance, and access to the rear yard. In light of our review, we recommend that the application be given favorable consideration.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Fraser?
Does the applicant own the property that's listed at 341 as well?
Through the mayor to Councillor Fraser, is that?
So
I can't see
that's
that.
the lot immediately to the west of the lot to be severed off.
I don't know.
Okay. Fine, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. And next up is our application for zone change for 684 Devonshire Ave. Councillor Lauder?
I'll move that the Woodstock City Council approve the application for lands described as Part Lot 1C, Plan 216 in the City of Woodstock to rezone the subject lands from Residential Zone 1 R1 to Special Residential Zone 3 R3-36 to permit a maximum of 8 horizontal attached dwelling units, and further that comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. And the seconder? Councillor Tate? Ms. Haschler?
Thank you. So the original submission was a request from the applicant to rezone the subject lands to permit 9 horizontally attached dwelling units served by an internal or a private access. However, as council is aware, the applicant submitted a revised plan yesterday, which staff have briefly reviewed. And because the application is proposing fewer units, there is the applicant, as Henry already indicated, they are able to provide 8 additional parking spaces. The request to reduce the minimum front yard depth from 9 meters to 8.8 meters is no longer required, and the request to reduce the rear yard depth from 7.54 meters, from 7.5 meters to 3 meters is no longer required either. And the applicant has put together this revised proposal to try to address some of the concerns that the neighboring property owners raised on Monday night. As staff were supportive of the 9 units, we're also supportive of the reduced 8 units. We feel that the application is a form of infilling, and it minimizes land consumption, it promotes intensification, and provides a mix of housing types. We also feel that it's an efficient use of lands, municipal services, and infrastructure within a designated settlement area. The proposed development maintains the general intent of the official plan as it pertains to low-density residential, and the net residential density for the proposed development at 9 units came in at 10 units per acre, so it would be lower now. The proposed townhouses are also a form of development that's contemplated by the low-density residential designation policies, and it's considered to be compatible with the surrounding area that offers a mix of housing types and land uses, which include both commercial and institutional uses located in the immediate area. While the proposal seeks to introduce an alternative housing type into an existing residential neighborhood consisting of single detached dwellings on Devonshire, the proposed development will maintain a similar height to the existing 1- and 2-story dwellings in the immediate vicinity, and will also be of a scale that's appropriate in a low-density residential area. Additionally, based on the orientation of the dwellings being perpendicular to Devonshire Avenue, the development will be consistent with the existing streetscape. Additionally, the neighbors suggested that perhaps a traffic impact study should be looked at. However, both city engineering staff and county public works engineering staff indicated that a traffic impact study was not necessarily based on the smaller scale of the proposed development. We recognize that there is a significant amount of traffic on Devonshire Avenue. However, it is an arterial road, as well as Huron Street being an arterial road. And the information that we received indicated that there were a total of 6 accidents on at this intersection over the past year, and on average over the last number of years, it's been 3 accidents per year. Additionally, council, as council probably knows, we would be addressing any further details through the site plan approval process, which would address the building location, lighting, parking, accessibility, grading, stormwater management, landscaping, privacy screening, garbage collection, snow removal, and the removal will be snow storage and removal. And it'll all be addressed to minimize impacts on surrounding residential areas. So in light of our review, we are supportive of the 9, originally proposed 9 units, but also supportive of the 8 units.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Andrea, could you tell me, and I know there's a concern from the from the residents, but if this we went against your recommendation and the recommendation of the other organizations that have approved this, then it would go to could go to the OMB. And could you explain, going to the OMB, we would have to have another planner and what cost it is for the municipality, for the city of Woodstock?
Through the mayor to Councillor Lauder. So if the scenario where the council were to turn down the applicant's proposal, and the applicant chose to appeal the application, I mean, at the same time, council could also approve the application and neighboring property owners could also appeal it. So that's also another option. But if the scenario that you're suggesting, Councillor Lauder, what would happen is, yes, the city would have to have a planner, and they couldn't use the county planning department because we had obviously a different recommendation. And so the city would have to hire both a planner and a lawyer to go to the land use planning area tribunal, appeal tribunal. Sorry, it's no longer the OMB. And so I don't really know the costs of a lawyer. It would be substantial.
Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship, through to Andrea. And if they did, let's say we didn't approve it, the neighbors or the DeRoos decided to take it to the tribunal, they could go for the 11 units that they could have actually had within this plan. Is that correct? They would have been allowed 11.
Through the mayor to Councillor Talbot, they would have to apply for those number of units. Okay, so they'd have to go through the whole process over again.
But with this meeting the provincial policy statement into the delegation that we had talking about you can fight the province. This is one thing you can't fight the province on. The provincial policy statements are very favorable to the Toronto area, where land is very, very scarce for development, and unfortunately those rules adversely affect our rules here. So a lot of things that we might not consider that we would like to have in our community because of the provincial policy statements allows the infill much greater.
Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Your Worship, and it's more of a comment than a question, Andrea, so don't get nervous.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that regardless of provincial policies and the fact that we're based on Toronto, I don't want to be Toronto. And I have great respect for the DeRoo builders. They've done excellent work in this community for so many years. But I can't support this because I think it's just too intense for that neighborhood. Sorry.
Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor and opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the appointment recommendation for the conservation authorities. Councillor Tate.
I'll make the motion that Woodstock City Council recommend that Oxford County Council appoint Councillor Schattenberg to the Woodstock's representative on the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item is the downtown BIA. Okay, Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council appoint the members to the Board of Management Downtown Woodstock BIA Board as outlined in the correspondence.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And next item is the acting chief executive officer for the Woodstock Public Library for carryovers. Councillor Tate.
I'll make the motion that Woodstock City Council move 1/2 of all funds from the 2018 year-end surplus into the automation reserve and 1/2 of all funds from the 2018 year-end surplus into the reserve for consultant services.
Thank you. And the seconder? Councillor Fraser. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And our next item is the request for the carryover for 2019 budget for the Woodstock Library. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the Woodstock Public Library Board to carry over in reserve to 2019 the following: capital project teen space, second floor, $81,000.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Tate. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item is administrative services and our temporary borrowing bylaw. Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorizes the temporary borrowing to a maximum of $5 million for the year 2019 and necessary bylaw be read.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Tate. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And next item is the interim tax levy. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approves the interim tax levy 2019 and the necessary bylaw be read.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item is the application for tax relief. We'll go with Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council directs the Treasurer to Council reduce or refund the taxes levied in 2017-2018 as detailed in the reports.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item is the items to be carried over at year end. Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approves a request to carry funds over the year end as listed for the various capital and revenue fund projects and that these funds be recognized as a prior year commitment or a reserve contribution as appropriate.
Thank you. And a seconder, Mark Schattenberg. There we go. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carries. We got you into the minutes now.
Yes.
Next item is the statement of revenue and expenditure and capital expenditures for the period ended November 30th. Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council receive the statement of revenue and expenditure and the statement of capital expenditures for the period ending November 30th, 2018 as information.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Schattenberg. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carries. This next one is a new initiative, very exciting for the young people in the community. We have transit for New Year's Eve. Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approves a donation of 2 city transit buses and drivers from 10 p.m. December 31st, 2018 to 1 a.m. January 1st, 2019 to provide free transportation home for attendees of the Youth New Year's Eve event being organized by the United Way, Rotary Club, and Calvary Church.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Accioni. Discussion. It's a good news story. We'll see what the take-up is for this year, and if it's anything like the City of Lights tour, we're going to have to add more buses in future years. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Next item on the agenda is the Memorandum of Understanding for the West Hill Snowmobilers. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the request from Westwood Hill Snowmobilers, Inc. for use of the subject lands, and the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the memorandum of understanding.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Fraser. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of the acting mayor, and we will do this in 2 parts. So the first part is about council's direction on the length of term, and I'll chair that part. And then we'll go with Councillor Tate.
Move that Woodstock City Council establish a term of office for the acting mayor to be December 13th, 2018 to January 16th, 2020, and further that Woodstock City Council shall elect an acting mayor in the term of office at the regular meeting of council held on January 16th, 2020.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And now I'll hand the meeting over to our deputy clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. We will now proceed with the election of the acting mayor. Just to be clear, each member of council is entitled to 1 vote, and the CAO, David Creary, will draw a ballot from the box in the event that there is a tie. So I will now accept any nominations duly moved and seconded from council. I do have 1. Are there any further nominations?
Who's the seconder? That's signature. Oh, there we go. That's why I didn't recognize it. Sorry.
Okay. So I've received 1 nomination, moved by Councillor Lauder and seconded by Councillor Fraser, that Jerry Accioni be appointed as the acting mayor. Councillor Accioni, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay, since there has only been 1 nomination, the motion is that Councillor Accioni be appointed as acting mayor for the term of office from December 13th, 2018 to January 16th, 2020. All those in favor? The motion has carried.
Congratulations, Councillor Accioni, and I know that over the coming year I do have a few engagements where I'll be away and you'll get to sit here in the chair, and I know that with such an active community there will be times where you'll be called upon to represent the city as well, so thank you for accepting that. Next item on the agenda is the appointments for our boards, and this will take care of the council appointments. And we have Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. Move that Woodstock City Council and members of the public be appointed to various boards as follows. Art Gallery Advisory Board, Councillor Lauder. Police Services Board, Mayor Trevor Birch and Councillor Deb Tate. Public Library Board, Councillor Mayor Birch, Councillor Tate, Councillor Lauder. Lay members will be Gary, Marianne Silverthorne, Vanessa Vogwell, and Ken Whiteford. Woodstock Board of Management Downtown Improvement Area, Councillor Fraser. And Woodstock Hydro Legacy Fund Committee, Councillor Lauder, Councillor Fraser, and Mayor Birch.
Thank you. And the seconder is Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is our annual status report regarding the accessibility plan. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the 2018 status report for the 2018 to 2022 accessibility plan.
Seconded by Councillor Accioni. Discussion? You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of a closed meeting investigator and integrity commissioner. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council direct staff to prepare a report to council on updates to council policy GA016, Code of Conduct for Council Advisory Committees and Local Boards, and further that City Council direct staff to prepare an agreement to appoint Gregory Stewart as Woodstock's Integrity Commissioner and closed meeting investigator, effective March 1st, 2019.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Fraser. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the tiered medical response agreement. Councillor Fraser.
Recommend that council receive this report as information from the acting fire chief.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Tate. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the Art Gallery Advisory Board. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the proposed changes to Municipal Code Chapter 32, Art Gallery Advisory Board, and that the necessary bylaw be read.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tate. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item is new business. Councillor Lauder.
Moved by myself that whereas the federal government's 2017 budget contained a legislative change to eliminate the one-third tax-free exemption for municipality elected officials starting January 1st, 2019, and whereas this change will reduce the net pay for members of council, and whereas the estimated cumulative cost to ensure the salary portion for members of council will be affected is $30,000 per year. Therefore, be it resolved that the remuneration for members of council be adjusted effective January 1st, 2019, so that the salary portion of the council remuneration is unaffected by the elimination of the one-third tax-free exemption for municipally elected officials, and further that council policy AS006, councillor remuneration, be amended accordingly.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Councillor Accioni.
I put this I seconded to get a discussion going here in council. I know there's a lot of debate, a lot of social media, negative for lack of a better word, towards this. I do want to be clear, I've lost a lot of sleep over this one. Gone back and forth. I will be supporting it. I don't think anybody deserves to have a pay decrease for a job they have been doing well, no matter what the job is, no matter what the circumstance is, and just want to let people know that I certainly do appreciate, and I've read all the comments, and this is one of those decisions that I think have to be made for the right of the position to keep it forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Lauder.
I'm just going to make one comment that having Mrs. Hilderly has checked out what it would cost, and it's $1.71 per household for the year for 17,500 houses. So I just want to make that comment on this, and it is quite a reduction, especially for the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Talbot.
Just through to your worship, or if maybe to Mrs. Hilderly or Mr. Curry, did we not receive a mileage added on to our compensation package in addition to what we're getting?
Your worship, through to Councillor Talbot, yes, you also received, sorry about that, a car allowance as well.
So myself personally, I think that makes up for the difference that the government's going to be taxing us. I won't be supporting the motion, and I would like a recorded vote, please.
Thank you. Councillor Tate.
I want to comment, we passed this at the county already because this came up last term. We were supposed to deal with this the last term, and for some reason we didn't. I agree with Councillor Accioni. I think the comments on Facebook, they're misinformed. I don't think somebody takes a position, it doesn't matter what it is, and you take a cut, but this was already passed.
Further discussion of council? Okay, we'll call the vote.
Councillor Talbot? No. Councillor Accioni? Yes. Mayor Birch?
Yes.
Councillor Fraser?
Yes.
Councillor Lauder?
Yes.
Councillor Schattenberg? Yes. Councillor Tate?
Yes.
The motion is carried.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the bylaws. Who do we have tonight? Councillor Accioni.
Sorry, Your Worship. Make sure I get the right one here. Move that the following moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lauder. The following bylaws be given first and second reading. 9257-18, a bylaw to amend City of Woodstock Municipal Code, Chapter 32, Art Gallery Advisory Board. 9258-18, a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy. 9259-18, a bylaw to authorize the borrowing of $5 million. 9260-118, a bylaw to amend Municipal Code Chapter 499, Parking Accessible. 9261-18, a bylaw to amend Traffic Bylaw 8021-4 as amended. And finally, 9262-18, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 862610 as amended, ZN 1802 Stonegate Drive.
Thank you. And was there a seconder on that? Sorry. Yes. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that the following bylaws be given third and final reading. 9257-18 through to 9262-18, inclusive.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And tonight we will start with Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. In 4 years, this was the hardest meeting. I don't know if it should have been or not, but it was the hardest meeting, the most late nights, the most sleepless, trying to decide which way. And I hope people understand. I certainly understand people's concerns and everything else. But again, that's what I felt. So beyond that, do want to congratulate everybody at the Santa Claus Parade, all the participants, all the excellent volunteers. Of course, it's not possible without the volunteers, all the sponsors. I do have to admit, it was quite odd being out of town for the first one in 20 years, not being involved in. So glad to see it was such a success, and really thankful for everybody that did contribute. And I'm going to keep it simple and say Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year from my family to yours. And please be safe and don't drink and drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
I just want to say a big thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Leslie for that wonderful sponsorship. It'll just be wonderful to have that bridge open, over the dam opened, and it's just been many, many years, and I think this will be just such a great asset for Woodstock. And I was the judge at the Santa Claus Parade, and that was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. It's the first time that I haven't been in it, so to do that is maybe the second time, but it was great, though, to see all the people there, and it was just great. And I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just when Councillor Lauder was talking about the Leslie's donation, I still remember when you could walk over the dam before they closed it all off. So that was quite a long time ago, and it was pretty neat. So it'll be great to be able to do it again. The Santa Claus Parade, I had the pleasure, along with Kelly Gilson, of commentating it for Rogers Cable. It was, I think, one of the best run parades we've had. I mean, the floats were together. We had new entries. It was exciting. It was really, really good. And the committee is really, really small. So if there's anybody out there that has some spare time, I know that they would appreciate some help in it. It's a very worthwhile venture. The community comes out and really enjoys it. And last but not, and this week, I have to say, a few of us have been extremely busy with council meetings, the mayor and Councillor Tate and myself. We've had county council inaugural meeting. We had county council all day Wednesday and all day today, and we have it again on Monday. So we are already back to work and working very hard for our community. And on saying that, I just would like to wish everyone in our community and surrounding areas a very Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy, and safe New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fraser.
I too would like to thank all the participants in the parade, the Santa Claus parade, and especially the winners tonight. That was terrific to see that recognition. And yes, there must be some volunteers out there or service clubs who want to get involved and help the BIA keep this parade moving along like it has in the past. And it was a fabulous parade this year, though I missed part of it due to some other reasons, but I caught the last half anyways. Other than that, good meeting. I don't know why you thought it was so long, Jerry, because when I was on council before, it was normal to be 2 to 3 hours in the first meeting anyway, so I thought this was rather relaxing myself. But anyways. I'd just like to thank the community for everything and wish everybody a very happy and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Councillor Schattenberg.
Seems like we all want to talk about the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority and the expanded parkland and day use and coming up for the city of Woodstock. I think that's all terrific, but people might not realize this was 1967 that the dam officially opened in the city of Woodstock. People thought I was going to come on here and be Mr. Sports Guy, but I'll be Mr. Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. And Gordon Piddock happened to be from Ingersoll, not Woodstock, but he was a member of the Upper Thames when it opened in 1947, or when it was established in 1947. And of course, the Wildwood and area, and of course the Thames River and into Fanshawe Lake in London it covers as well. But he was actually the MPP for Oxford County for a number of years, progressive conservative, kind of sandwiched in between Gord Innes years, the 1950s and beyond, into the late 60s that Gord Innes was. So he was also a former MPP. So very significant. People think, well, who's Gordon Piddock? Who's the Piddock Reservoir named after? But it's very important. Good news today for the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority in the city of Woodstock. Thanks.
Well, I'd like to thank council for our first meeting where we had business on the agenda. And of course, the community at this time of year, you see so many people within our community out there present doing great things, getting ready for Christmas. And this is something where it's happening all year long. There are so many great people doing amazing things, and make sure you get involved in the community. At this time of year, when you think about the snow coming down and some of the people who don't have a warm bed to sleep in, might not have family or friends to talk to, might not have food in their belly for days at a time, smile, wish them a good day, do whatever you can to brighten their day. That's what makes us the friendly city. Now myself, earlier this week, I was able to bring greetings from the city on Monday night to our counterparts with Japan. So celebrating the birthday of the emperor with many dignitaries and senators and ambassadors and all of that. And of course, Woodstock holds such a high position with our counterparts from Japan. As mentioned by Councillor Talbot, we've been right to work at the County of Oxford looking at budgets, and there's been a lot of discussion going on, and we're going to see more of that discussion take place here at the city in the new year as we start to deliberate that capital budget plan that was talked about, and eventually we get into our revenue fund budget where we look at some of the service improvements that we discussed during the survey tonight. What I'd like to say most of all is know that your council's working for you the citizens of Woodstock. The decisions that we make, whether it's on a planning matter or what council pay should be, some people will disagree with, and that's okay. That's why we come around this horseshoe. The most important thing is that we're trying to do the best thing for the future for our community. And with that, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you in the future in the new year. A motion to adjourn, Councillor Fraser, seconded by Councillor Schadenberg. All those in favor? We are adjourned.